Hey guys, today I'm excited to give you my 10 most emotional moments for the newest Marvel movie, Black Widow. Now this movie hit theaters today and Disney Plus with that $30 premiere access price point. And I am not going to tell you whether it's worth it or not for you for that $30. For my family, totally was, even though we had seen the screener, and of course we've gone to see it on the big screen as well. Big fan of this movie, just for all the action, and it's Marvel, so big fan. But let's get ready to get into those 10 most emotional moments. This is something I like to do for a lot of movies. Now, if this is your first time here, I'd love it if you take 1 second and hit that subscribe button. If you enjoy the content, go ahead and hit that notification bell. But yeah, let's talk about Black Widow. Full warning, this is going to have massive spoilers as I discuss major plot points. So let's get into it. Hey, Tessa from Mama's Geeky here. Thank you so much for stopping by my YouTube channel. Okay, now as with all of my most emotional moments, these do not go in order of how emotional they were. They go in order of how they occurred in the film, more or less, or when they occurred in the film, I should say. Now, this one was a hard one to pin down just 10 moments because, you guys, emotional doesn't just mean it had me crying, okay? So emotional, I could be super excited, I could be angry. I mean, it's a very hard one to pinpoint 10 moments for, because there was a whole lot of emotions in this movie, which I think honestly had to do with the fact that we waited so long for it. And overall, there was a couple of things I was annoyed with. I didn't count these on here, but I do want to give these as honorable mentions. I was annoyed that Natasha's a sidelined character again. Felt like, I mean, you could have taken her out of this story and it feels like it would have accomplished the same thing. So that's quite annoying, something that really bothered me. But again, that's kind of overall as a whole for the movie, so I didn't count it as an emotional moment per se. And the other is the wasted potential of Taskmaster. Now, Taskmaster from the comics is incredible. Tony Masters is amazing. What they did with Taskmaster in Black Widow is very, very, very reminiscent of what they did with Ghost. Not necessarily a horrible thing, just felt like, meh, really? Like, that's the road you're gonna go? There's so much more potential if you stuck closer to the comics, and this is me being comic book biased, I know, but Taskmaster is incredible, and it just felt like wasted potential, because I feel like, and again, there's gonna be spoilers in this video, with how they left Taskmaster, like, we're not getting Taskmaster anymore, or at least we're not getting a villainous version of Taskmaster anymore, and that's not okay to me. I was looking forward to seeing Taskmaster in the Thunderbolts or Dark Avengers. I was just really looking forward to seeing more bad, villainous Taskmaster, and that's clearly not going to happen because of how this played out in the movie. Unfortunately, it's very similar to Ghost, right? Oh yeah, Ghost can be in the Dark Avengers. Ghost is like a bad guy. Oh, this is where they're going. Okay, it's fine. Just there was so much more potential, and I'm a villains girl. So for me, Taskmaster was a letdown. That's an overall. So those are two overall emotions that I felt from this movie. Let's push those aside, get them out of the way, and dive into my 10 most emotional actual moments of the film. Again, they're going to go from how, like, when they occurred in the movie. I am not ranking them 1 to 10 for how emotional they are. The very first thing is going to be when Natasha protects young Jelena. Now, I love the opening scene of Black Widow. The first 15 minutes, I thought it was incredible. It immediately sucked me in. I loved it. I think these actresses are absolutely phenomenal who played young Natasha and young Jelena. I think they did fantastic jobs of capturing that, just really capturing the whole persona, capturing mannerisms. I mean, they really felt like a young Scarlett Johansson and a young Florence Pugh to me. So I loved that moment. But when Natasha first really steps up, takes the gun, and she's mixing between Russian and English, saying, I'll shoot you, you know? And then you can't take her. She's only 6. Like, I love that moment. And that was the first moment that I got teary and my heart started to really pound. And I was like, okay, this is it. We are in this movie. This is going to be a focus of Jelena, clearly. It's going to be set up for her in the future of the MCU, clearly. But we are going to get this incredible sisterly bond between Natasha and Jelena. And that's what I was looking for in this movie, going into it. So that was the moment that I said, all right, I'm in. Like I said, I got teary. I was like, Natasha, yes, I love you for protecting your little sister. Like, yes. So that's the first emotional moment. That's the moment, the first moment of the film that I really felt like, yeah, all right, I'm going to enjoy this movie. And that moment gave me chills every time I've seen it. I've seen the movie 7 times now, and that moment still gives me chills, okay? The next emotional moment that I want to talk about is when Natasha and Jelena reunite in that fight. I'm going to call it a reunion fight, right? They immediately don't know what's going on. They haven't seen each other in a while, so can I trust you? Can I not trust you? Is the house, they just start fighting. But it's so funny. It just reminds me of, I have a sister. I have 2 daughters, so they're sisters. And it's something that, I can definitely see happening. Maybe I wouldn't, go all out fighting like that with my sister. I'm not trained to do that. She's not trained to do that. But these are 2 trained killers. So for their first time to see each other, just to get into this fight, and then, tap out. It was just so great. I thought it was fun. I was laughing. I loved the action. I just enjoyed the 2 of them interacting with each other. I mean, this is the first time you see Scarlett Johansson with Florence Pugh, so I was here for it. And apparently, what they said during the press junket for Black Widow, that was the first scene they filmed together. So that was their first, let's go moment. And I think it really shines through in the movie. I think it was a great way to have that be the first thing filmed, right? That was smart because it's the first time them seeing each other in years and years and years. So for it to be the first time these actresses are really stepping together into these roles and seeing each other in that way was really, really perfect. So kudos to Marvel for that. That was very smart to do. And that's definitely an emotional moment for me for all sorts of reasons. I was happy. I was excited. The action is great. It's funny. I mean, I just really enjoyed it a lot. So next up is, and it takes a little bit of a leap. I did think about putting the posing moment in there because that is hilarious, where Jelena just makes fun of Natasha in her posing, especially since it comes around later. However, I did not include that, but that is definitely an honorable mention moment. But the breakout fight, or the fight I should say, where they're breaking out Red Guardian is just so great from beginning to end, because again, with the action, it's classic Marvel action, and you're seeing Natasha get into this, and it's tons of hand-to-hand combat, which I love about this movie. It's just so good. And that whole scene, I mean, there's helicopters, there's stuff blowing up there. I mean, it's just a great scene action-wise, also plot point-wise. I mean, then they bring in Guardian, and he starts immediately asking stuff. They bring up how their uteruses are taken out of them. I mean, it was just like, are you serious? This is where we're going with this movie. This is crazy. And I really enjoyed that moment, but specifically the fight, it was one of those cheering on the edge of your seat action scenes, which I really love that Marvel does a lot. Next moment is when the family reunites and they're having this, I guess, dinner, but really just drinking together. And they're starting to fight, and you can see Jelena is the little one still. You almost see that, right? And she's sitting there looking at them like, don't fight. And she says it was real to me. And it's when they're talking about, it wasn't real. We're just spies. We're pretending we're a family. And Yelena's like, you were my mom, to me, And by the way, that thing you've been working on, you know who they tested it on? You know who they put it in? Me. They messed me up. They messed my brain up, And I just love that. My youngest daughter is the emotional one, okay? If people are fighting, she's like, hey, remember that amazing time we had here or there? Do you remember that moment we had as a family? She doesn't want people fighting, and she's very sensitive and very emotional. I wonder where she gets that from. I don't know. So that moment I really enjoyed around the table, and when she said it was real to me, it's the first time I really, cried in the movie because I could feel her, and I could feel her pain. And I just really enjoyed that moment a lot. Emotionally, I thought it was great for her character. And Florence Pugh, again, she's amazing. I love her. Okay, so next up, I am going to talk about the Taskmaster reveal. Now, I know I said Taskmaster as a whole was a letdown, but I did have to include this moment with the reveal. It was a very emotional moment for me because when you figure out it's his daughter, I was mad. And I will tell you, after seeing this movie 7 times, I still get mad because to me, it immediately goes to wasted potential. Why did they do this? Okay. Because as soon as I knew it was his daughter, and obviously we have this Red Room connection and they have this chemical that can, stop people from being in they're controlled in the Red Room. I knew Taskmaster was not getting out of this movie still being a quote-unquote villain. I knew they were going to break her from the chains, so to speak. And that bothered me. And it's not bothering me because she's a woman. I think that's fine. I love Toni Masters as a hardcore comic book fan, of course. And if you guys have read any Taskmaster stuff, you'll know why. Amazing character. Still could have done this with the gender roles flipped. I mean, definitely could have had a female Taskmaster. Fantastic, great, lovely. But the fact that I knew right then, oh, it's someone who's under his control. They're going to break that. It was like an angry letdown all in that moment. So I had to include it because it just was like, oh man, wasted potential. That's the word it is. But I was genuinely mad the first time, and I still get angry every time going, oh, why couldn't it have changed? They could have done so much better for Taskmaster, and they didn't. So that was really sad to me. I didn't see it coming. So that was the first time I watched it. It was a complete surprise. So I guess surprise was a little bit mixed in there too. I really didn't see it coming at all. Originally, I thought maybe it was Melina. But then, when they first took her away and she was dying, I thought, oh, Melina is going to be Taskmaster. It's going to be Rachel Weisz. But it wasn't. And that's fine. I mean, I think that moment got me because I was angry, surprised, and let down. So I had to include that moment in here. So the next most emotional moment is when Natasha says the words, sever the nerve. And you see that flashback as to where they're saying, he's got these pheromones, you're not going to be able to hurt him, which is a little weird, but sure, listen, Marvel has done weirder things, so I will allow it. But when it was just such a badass line for her, and I was like, yes! Like, I think I literally screamed out loud the first few times I watched the movie. And when she just says, you weren't strong enough, so I'm going to have to do it myself. Sever the nerve. And she smashes her head to sever the nerve in her nose. First of all, there's so much to love about this just because it's badass. It's amazing. Natasha's amazing. I love that they gave her that moment, right? But I love that she gave him that little dig too. Like, you weren't strong enough. Like, yo, I tried to have you hit me and break my nose multiple times. You're not even strong enough to do it. So I'm going to have to break my own nose so that I can attack you. Like, that was such a dig at him that I absolutely loved. But just that moment overall was pretty fantastic. Next up is when Jelena sacrifices herself, right? So you think she's going to die. I thought she was going to die. I was sobbing. My daughters were sobbing. This was a whole mess. I thought, oh my gosh, she's going to kill herself. When she just looks out at Natasha and goes, this was fun. And I thought for sure, I'm almost getting teary right now. I was like, no, I love this connection between the two of them. And my brain started going, I thought she's supposed to be in Hawkeye. I'm so confused. Is she going to die? And I think that's part of, again, goes back to this movie. I think it would have had a little more of an impact on me if I didn't know she was going to be in Hawkeye, which goes back to this would have been released, a year ago, and it would have been out, and we wouldn't have known, over a year ago, really, that she was going to be a part of Hawkeye. So, is what it is. The pandemic affected things, unfortunately, but that moment was still emotional because my brain started to go, wait. Are we going to lose her? What's going on here? And it was sad. I mean, it was very much a Natasha move, right? Natasha does sacrifice herself in Endgame. So to see Elena willing to do that in that moment to save everyone in the Red Room and the rest of her family, I mean, that was a very emotional moment, and I really, really enjoyed it. Plus, there's an explosion, and you can't go wrong with explosions. That's so much fun. The next emotional moment for me, this is when I was already crying because of Jelena, and I wasn't sure, is she going to die? What's going on? And then we're both upside down, and that ties back to, the beginning, that within that first 15 minutes with the young kids when they were playing, and they said we're both upside down because they're doing their bridges and hanging and looking at each other. And this moment, obviously, they've fallen. They're a bit hurt, but they still were both upside down. I love that she used that line. I love that connection. That's something I love about Marvel, is bringing the emotion into it, right? I Love You 3000 is a big one that they do. I just really love when Marvel hits you with something in the gut. They're so good at that. They're like, oh, yeah. You ever hear the line, we're both upside down, or think about upside down in the future, you're probably going to tear up and cry, because that's what we're going to do. We're going to tie this emotional sisterly moment into just the words upside down. And having two girls, again, it kind of hits me close to home, right? They're sisters, they fight, but they have their little moments like this, and they have their little inside jokes. And so that moment was really super emotional, especially coming right off of the, like, did Jelena just die moment. I really, really enjoyed that moment. And then, of course, follow up almost in the exact same moment, but I'm giving it its own thing, was Natasha's line of, it was real to me too, which just, when she's telling her sister, like, I know I told you it wasn't real. I know I told you we're spies and we were just pretending to be family, but listen, it was real to me too, and you are my sister. Because earlier, when they're fighting, she's like, you're not even really my sister. Like, even though they weren't really fighting, but they were talking about the posing and the Avengers and all that stuff, little digs like that I feel like really stuck with Jelena. She's an emotional person. She really is. So to think about that, like, she doesn't consider herself my sister, but I considered her my big sister. So when Natasha says to her that it was real for her too, I love that moment. I love that sisterly moment between the two of them. It was so emotional. I love them coming together, and I just thought it was very, very well done. Again, tying back to something earlier in the film. Marvel's very, very good at that. So I really, really enjoyed that moment. Definitely up there in my top emotional moments from the movie. Now, the final emotional moment I want to talk about in Black Widow that really got me, I think, I go back and forth between if it's the best scene in the movie or not. I think no, but it's hard. I still think my favorite part is like the first 15 minutes of the movie. I think, but it's very hard. It's the end credit scene. Now, I know people are saying there's 2 end credit scenes. There's not. One's like, I guess technically a pre-credit scene, but isn't that like a movie? I mean, listen, the movie's going on and then it fades to black and then there's a scene before the credits. So there's one end credit scene. There's one scene after the credits, and that is what really got me, because you have Jelena with a dog. She always wanted the dog. You've got Jelena going to her sister's grave. I mean, she's at Natasha's grave. That's depressing. That's heartbreaking. And then you have Tessa show up and you're like, oh, this was supposed to be her first moment in the MCU. Oh, I'm here for this. Okay, this is exciting. And then you get her. This whole thing, this was like 10 emotions. It was like an emotional roller coaster to begin with, right? You're like, yay, Jelena. She's happy. Oh, she's visiting Natasha's grave. This is depressing. Oh, Contessa's here. What is going on? Madam Hydra, like, what is she doing? Oh, she's telling Jelena to kill Hawkeye. What the heck? Jelena's going to be a villain in Hawkeye? Huh? Yeah, that's basically all the emotions that I went through. And then I thought, Natasha would not want this. She would not want her sister after Hawkeye. She loves Hawkeye. She loves Clint. They're like best friends. And this is like her sister. What is going to happen? And it made me like dying to see Hawkeye. Like, I've already been super excited for Hawkeye. Let's be honest here. Clint is one of my favorite Avengers. I know, I don't care. I said it. And he is. I love him. I love him in the comics. I love him in the movies. So I'm really looking forward to this show. Plus, I love Kate Bishop. Okay. They're setting up the Young Avengers. I'm super excited. But Kate Bishop is amazing. So I'm excited for that as well. And now we're going to have Jelena, but she's going to be a bad guy. She's going to be like hunting down Hawkeye. What the heck? So my brain is spinning with all these theories. So that moment was so emotional. That like 3 minutes maybe? Just had me on a roller coaster of emotions. I still don't know how I feel about it overall, because it's sad, exciting kind of. I mean, you see Julia Louis-Dreyfus, who's perfect for this role. Never in a million years would have fan cast her. Love her in this role. Can't see anyone else in it. And then I'm mad because, Jelena's going to be going after Clint Barton now. And, Natasha would not want that. What is happening? I don't like this. So, I don't know. There's going to be some Natasha talk between the two of them, and it's going to get sad and depressing in the show, I'm sure, and it's going to end up making me cry. Big surprise. But those are my 10 most emotional moments from Black Widow. If you've already seen Black Widow, which hopefully you have, because we got into some massive spoilers here in this review and these emotional moments, let me know your thoughts down below in the comments. Tell me your most emotional moments from this movie. What parts really, really got to you, and let me know what you thought about it. Be sure to give me a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe. Hit the notification bell so you don't miss out on more videos like this one. You can follow me over on Instagram and Twitter. I'm at Mama's Geeky over there. MAMAS GEEKY. Thanks for taking the time to watch this, guys. I'll see you next time. Thank you so much to all of my monetary supporters, my members here on YouTube, as well as my patrons. If you haven't joined yet, please consider doing so. We have some really awesome perks, including a monthly Zoom meeting where we get to talk face to face. Thank you again to everyone who supports me.